20-year-old Filipino tennis star Alex Eala has sent Melbourne Park crowds into an absolute frenzy.
In a moment like she had here last year, she's 140 in the world. You're still not sure. You know you're on the way, but you're not sure if you can compete with the top players. And I love the look on her face when she beat Iga last year here, make the semifinals. All her dreams came true in an hour and a half or however long that match took. And I love seeing that for her. Mentally, she's incredibly strong. She's at her career high, as you said, at 29 in the world. It's going to be tough to stay there because she's got these points to defend. But I know that mentally she's very good. She's got a few things that she could still work on in her game. I don't know if we're going to go there.
And before a single serve, the desert was alive with electricity. Alexandra Eala had Indian Wells buzzing like never before, turning a routine tournament into a spectacle nobody expected. Ticket sales skyrocketed into Grand Slam territory, and suddenly women's tennis wasn't just in the spotlight, it was under a magnifying glass. Fans weren't there for the usual matches, they were there for a phenomenon. But here's the question. Could this 20-year-old left-handed star actually change the game forever?
Off-night singles lost. She'll have another go tonight at getting through to the second round in the doubles. Now, Alex Eala, she's really been the talk of Melbourne Park today. She's just 20 years old, ranked 49 in the world. But the reason why there is just so much interest is because she's the highest-ranking Filipino in history. And if yesterday's crowds were anything to go by, we can expect it's going to be another chock-a-block night here at Melbourne Park tonight. We saw she was given a special security escort to Court 6 last night. There were thousands of Filipinos who tried to get a glimpse of the star on Court 6. Hundreds didn't manage to get in. They were, in fact, quite rowdy at times, told to be.
The story wasn't built on hype or the fleeting glow of social media. This was momentum earned in fire. Alexandra had already electrified Dubai, dismantling seasoned opponents and proving that she wasn't just another teenage prospect. Every heavy topspin, every baseline rally, every clever slice was proof that this wasn't novelty, it was mastery.
The organizers need to keep more in mind where the players are from and what the actual fan base is here, because there's massive Filipino audience here in Melbourne, in Australia. So keep that in mind next time you make the schedule.
She's got a lot of global stardom to her. She's had some incredible results against, and she's beaten players like Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek, so she's the real deal, already top 50 in the world.
Now, Alex Eala, she's really been the talk of Melbourne.
Ticket servers crashed. Merchandise flew off shelves, and suddenly Indian Wells outer courts felt like trying to squeeze a stadium tour into a local high school gym. The math simply didn't work. The demand refused to be ignored.
When did you realize you were representing something much bigger?
In Melbourne, I saw a couple clips of the lines and the people, and I was at a loss for words. I think I was a little in denial.
Walk us back a year ago, 4 days before the Miami event.
I have to say that week was probably the craziest week of my life. I came into the tournament, I was a wild card, and I hadn't really had a lot of success. So yeah, safe to say it was a big surprise.
Yet, sports, as history shows, has a cruel sense of timing. Just as the desert was set to witness a new era, Alexandra Eala hit a wall. Carolina Machova, a player whose name didn't carry headlines but whose game demanded respect, ended Alexandra's run in Indian Wells.
You see, she's got a smile that lights up a room too, you know. And I remember last year when she beat Iga Swiatek, and she kind of did it with a lot of grace and humility, you know. And it was really, for me, it was terrific to see her take that match and watch her play after that, and watch her try to continue to progress, because I like her game. You know, obviously she wants to get better than where she is now, than 32 in the world, but she's got a lot of good hand-eye coordination and ability to take the ball early and redirect.
And the ripple effects were immediate. Ticket sales that once soared began to wobble. The initial frenzy, the energy that had drawn fans, media, and sponsors alike, started to fade. It wasn't just disappointment in a result. It was the sudden realization that the gravitational pull of Alexandra Eala's presence could be, at least temporarily, disrupted. Before we dive into the fallout, let's rewind to understand exactly why Alexandra had become such a phenomenon. Her matches weren't just contests, they were cultural events. Filipino flags painted the stands, chants ricocheted across the desert, and social media feeds lit up with real-time scores and reactions. Even seasoned pros and commentators, veterans who had faced the sport's elite under immense pressure, found themselves marveling at the scale of what was unfolding. Alexandra Eala was doing something the WTA had been desperate to see. She was filling stadiums not because of rankings alone, but because she had magnetism. She carried a nation's identity into the arena, and in doing so, she pulled a global audience along with her. Her journey to that moment had been calculated, deliberate, and marked by flashes of brilliance. She thrived under pressure. The louder the crowd, the calmer she seemed. The expectations didn't weigh her down. They grounded her.
I mean, I would like to start with giving the credits to Alex. I mean, what the hell she played in the first set. Yeah, I mean, she was smashing the ball and she was cleaning the lines and all that. So, wow, it's a next generation coming. That she's gonna come up and she's gonna be really good in a couple of years. So, first of all, big credit to her.
But now, after Muchova's victory, the narrative had shifted. The same desert that had once roared for Eala now echoed with a quieter, more reflective tone. Outer courts once deemed inadequate for her star power suddenly felt like empty corridors. And the sponsorships, the media attention, the social frenzy, it all paused, waiting to see if she could regain that momentum. The harsh reality of professional tennis is that adoration and hype vanish as quickly as they arrive if they aren't backed by consistent performance. Ticket sales provide a blunt measure of this effect. Once, fans flocked to see her early-round matches as if they were finals, eager to witness the combination of strategy, theatrics, and raw firepower she brought to the court. After her exit, many casual viewers who had bought into the spectacle lost a key reason to show up. Stadiums that were once packed now felt more like empty shells, echoing the memory of what could have been. She proved that a new audience could be cultivated, that passion could translate into revenue, engagement, and global visibility. The Philippines, a country that had long watched from the sidelines, suddenly had a heroine who could turn routine tournaments into sold-out events. Ticket demand may have dipped now, but the structural shift she catalyzed in the sport isn't so easily reversed. The WTA networks and sponsors are still processing what her rise means for market expansion, for representation, and for revenue streams that had been untapped until now.
You're moving at 13 years old across the world to play tennis.
I look back at it and I'm like, oh my goodness, I moved out at 13.
You go to the Rafa Nadal Academy. Do you remember the first time you practiced next to Rafa? Were you intimidated or was it just all excitement?
Yeah, so the first interaction with Rafa.
There's another subtle but critical point in this story. Alexandra's style, honed in the deserts of Coachella Valley and on the hard courts of Dubai, rewards precision, patience, and heavy topspin. Against Muchova, however, the narrative shifted. The very elements that made her a crowd favorite, her calculated aggression and patient construction, were tested by a player who thrived on disruption and unpredictability. It was a clash of strategies as much as a contest of skill. The crowd could roar, the social feeds could explode, but tennis remained a game of unforgiving geometry and relentless honesty. And in this instance, the desert had a winner, and it wasn't Alexandra. That said, her presence still matters. Her trajectory, even with a setback, has opened doors for future talent, shifted perceptions, and forced organizers to reconsider the scale and ambition of events. Her influence extends beyond wins and losses. It's structural. Fans, too, have felt the pull. When Alexandra steps onto a court, they aren't just watching a player, they are participating in a narrative larger than the match itself. The communal energy, the national pride, the collective identity, it transforms the simple act of attending a tennis match into a shared spectacle. Losing that for a round may have slowed the momentum, but the imprint remains. People who came for Alexandra now understand what a star can do for women's tennis, and that lesson will linger long after this tournament ends.
Stuff is always fun for me because whenever you see players from smaller countries, the fans are so passionate when they get up to the top.
It's interesting, Ali mentioned Sonia Mirza. She has nearly 13 million followers on Instagram. That's 5 million more than Carlos Alcaraz, and nearly as many as Alcaraz and Sabalenka combined. So that's how big Sonia Mirza is, was, and will be. But Eala going to be seeded for the first time at a 1,000 to find out who she will play in the second round.
Even now, discussions within the sport reflect her impact. Former ATP and WTA players, marketing executives, and tournament organizers are all grappling with a simple question. Can Alexandra Eala's appeal be sustained? Can the frenzy she generated be translated into consistent attention for the tour beyond novelty and viral moments? These questions are not rhetorical. They shape scheduling, broadcast slots, sponsorship deals, and investment priorities across continents. The reality is that Alexandra's influence on the commercial side of tennis may outlast any single loss on the court. So, what's next? For Alexandra, This is an opportunity for recalibration. For the sport, it is both a warning and an invitation. Indian Wells 2026 will be remembered not just for the matches played, but for the glimpse it provided of what women's tennis could be with the right mix of talent, charisma, and cultural resonance. The question now isn't whether Alexandra Eala can reclaim momentum, it's whether the world of tennis can learn to accommodate and nurture a phenomenon like her. Because one thing is certain, even in defeat, her footprint is permanent. Stadiums, sponsors, and fans have all been reminded of a simple truth. Tennis doesn't just need champions, it needs gravitational forces. And Alexandra, for better or worse in this tournament, has proven she can create one.
I saw the other day with Alex Eala, that's been the talk, which is understandable. There's some players coming from respective countries, like she's coming from Philippines, which is now a big deal. She's been the biggest ever, tennis player from that country, which is a big country, and there's a big interest. So things like that happen. I mean, it's you could argue that it was, maybe a poor schedule, and maybe they could schedule him on a bigger court. Yes, but again, she's so young and she's just coming through. So, and obviously the first couple rounds, the schedule is so packed.
In the quiet aftermath, as empty seats start to replace the earlier roar and the frenzy settles into a reflective murmur, one thing remains clear. Alexandra Eala has changed the equation. Ticket servers may stop crashing, stadiums may show gaps, and casual viewers may drift away. Yet, the structural impact, market attention, fan engagement, and cultural resonance are irreversible. She has shown that women's tennis can command spectacle, excitement, and emotion on a scale previously thought exclusive to men's draws or marquee Grand Slam finals. And as organizers, coaches, and players recalibrate to this reality, one question hovers above all else. Can the sport harness this energy, or will it fade after a single upset? Alexandra Eala has given them a taste. Now it's up to the tour to decide whether they want the full course. After Machova's upset, that gravity shifted overnight. Stadiums that had felt electric the day before suddenly hummed with a more restrained, almost awkward energy. The buzz was still there, but it was tinged with uncertainty. Would fans still come? Would sponsors maintain the same level of enthusiasm? Would networks still highlight matches that now seemed secondary to the spectacle that had slipped away?
Alexandra Eala is selling out stadiums whether she's playing singles or doubles, tournaments where the fan attendance wasn't that high in previous years. If I was a tournament director, I would do anything for her to be at my tournament. I'd also make sure that she's on schedule every day, so doubles and singles, because then people come to watch Alex and then stay for more tennis. But yeah, you can see it in the crowd numbers whether Alex is playing or not. The Filipinos are showing up for their girl, and I love it.
Ticket sales provide a brutally honest answer. They didn't vanish entirely. Alexandra's early exit didn't erase the loyal core of fans who would follow her across continents. But the frenzy that had caused servers to crash, that had pushed resale prices into absurd levels, softened immediately. Empty seats became visible, and the echoes of cheers that had once dominated the Coachella Valley now felt like faint reminders of a moment that had already passed. It was a vivid demonstration that attention in sports isn't granted, it's earned match by match, point by point. Even the most passionate national pride can't override the simple arithmetic of wins and losses. They saw the energy she brought, the way fans showed up early, the way merchandise sold out faster than anyone could restock it, and realized this wasn't a fluke. Alexandra Eala had demonstrated that the right player, the right story, and the right timing could transform the perception of a tournament before a ball was even struck. That lesson doesn't disappear just because one match didn't go her way.
She's fantastic. She's so gracious, she's so humble, she's so grounded. And whenever they interviewed her afterwards, of course, after the match they interview her, and she's just the most beautiful soul emanating into the world and just speaking so highly of everybody who's helped her. And, some of the other players might be a bit, oh yeah, I did it, I'm fabulous. Well, she's not like that at all. She's just, well, I've had a lot of help. I've been to the Rafa Nadal Academy. They've helped me. My parents have helped me. My community has helped me. My Philippine.
Meanwhile, the players on tour are paying attention too. There's a quiet, almost conspiratorial discussion happening in locker rooms and coaching tents. How do you compete against someone whose drawing power eclipses your own? How do you maintain focus when the crowd's allegiances have already been decided before the first serve? Alexandra's presence, even in defeat, is teaching competitors to account for variables beyond the baseline. She's reshaping expectations of what it means to be a top player, not just in skill, but in cultural influence and marketability. And the fans, they are the clearest indicator that her impact is lasting. Social media might have quieted, but the core of loyal supporters hasn't disappeared. There's also a lesson for the tournament itself. Indian Wells had been caught off guard. Organizers suddenly had to rethink scheduling, seating arrangements, and marketing strategy mid-event. They realized that a rising star can simultaneously elevate a tournament and expose vulnerabilities in planning. The sudden drop in ticket momentum revealed just how much the infrastructure was relying on a single player to maintain buzz. It was a cautionary tale wrapped in excitement. Tennis can be a global spectacle, but only if the sport adapts to the gravitational pull of its rising stars rather than hoping traditional hierarchies will always suffice.
You get all of that, and then to come into Miami, she beat Katie Volynets, Yelena Ostapenko, which at this point you're like, give her the title. She already won by beating those two players. And then she goes Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek, insane. She wasn't winning matches. She has not been in the main draw of a Grand Slam. And she does this. And then gives Pegula a run for her money. Pegula was so frustrated during that match. You could almost see her thinking, wait, so this girl's gonna beat me right now?
Even Alexandra's team sees the bigger picture. The Rafa Nadal Academy imprint isn't just about tactics, it's about building resilience. Losing to Machova isn't failure, it's an early lesson in the brutal rhythm of elite competition. The Academy has been shaping Alexandra to handle noise, pressure, and expectations, but it also prepares her for setbacks, teaching her that influence and performance are distinct yet intertwined currencies. Her ability to bounce back, to translate this temporary dip in attention into motivation for the next tournament, will be a defining moment not just for her career, but for the narrative of women's tennis as a whole. In the end, Indian Wells 2026 didn't just showcase a loss, it illustrated a shift in the sports ecosystem. Her exit is a pause, not a reset. The world has glimpsed what she can bring. And the real question now isn't how quickly she returns to form, it's how the sport will evolve to ensure that the energy she creates isn't fleeting. Even in defeat, Alexandra has proven one immutable truth. Attention in tennis can be created, amplified, and demanded. But it requires a player who carries more than skill. It requires a player who carries an identity, a narrative, and a connection strong enough to pull stadiums, sponsors, and hearts alike. The desert may have quieted, but the stage has already been set for the next chapter.